We're back, people, and today we're breaking down film on Jody Fortson, Miami Dolphins tight end, and these are type of low-key signings that I really like. It's a low-risk move. You get these guys on the minimum, you're bringing them into camp, and there's just a lot of high upside there, intriguing skill set. Feel like he fits into the offense perfectly. He had an injury last year where he didn't play for the Chiefs, so this is 2022 film that we're taking a look at, but he would play in those 3 tight end looks for the Chiefs in 2021, 2022 seasons. They're obviously a stacked tight end room. So it's just interesting to, go back, watch his skill set. He's built like a big wide receiver, number 88 here. He moves really well, has a lot of nice athletic traits, and they would line him up on the outside, get him isolated, move him like an X. He'd motion around. A lot of interesting things that I could see him being used in the Dolphins offense. And to me, you bring him in, maybe he doesn't make the team. It doesn't really, matter too much because, you're getting him on that minimum. But I think he has a chance to, fight for that roster spot. Seems like, they've been trying to give these high upside athletic tight ends a chance that are built like receivers like Tanner Connor, what they have. And I think Fortson is kind of that guy that they're taking a look at that could also fill in that role because you can line him up in line, get him outside in the slot, or even isolate him on the backside of 3x1 because he is quite intriguing. And they would use him in motion a lot too, and he just moves so well. He has this different level of speed. And while they brought in Jonnu Smith, who I think is gonna be the tight end one, his has great yak and speed. While Fortson also has some great yak and speed, but they have different body types. While Jonnu is really compact, well built, bounces off tackle. While Fortson is a long strider type player, moves really really well. And I think he has that intriguing thing where they could use him on these motions, get him across. Dolphins love to use motion, whether it's short in, short out, or just go all the way across. And imagine having a tight end that you can do that stuff with, but keeping them at full speed. Here we get to just see him sink his hips. They use him in motion, get him across, gets out of his route. He just moves so well, and then sink his hips, get out of that break, just looking fluid here, and then floating away, getting in zone coverage, sees that there's some help under here, gets in between these defenders perfectly. So showing off some awareness, find that space, catch the ball, and then transition upfield. He starts to flip his hips as he's catching it. He has really long catch radius too. He's a good red zone threat, which is another big thing that I think he could bring. They love to isolate him down in the red zone and make plays. And then Dolphins don't really have a tight end red zone threat type of player on the team. That used to be Gesicki, but Gesicki didn't really offer that type of yards after catch the Dolphins would look for. I think Fortson can kind of fit into that mold. He's not the best blocker. He can do, I think he can block, he gives some effort, which is a good thing. I've seen him have good blocks versus DBs out in space. So that's at least nice, but I wouldn't, account for him too much as an inline blocker. But really good job flipping his hips here. I love when players are able to flip their hips and the momentum, shift it upfield right before the catch point and still make the catch comfortably, because then it allows you to pick up more yards over the catch, carry guys for a couple yards. That's a really nice rep from Fortson. I like these low risk, high upside signings. If it doesn't work out, there's no big deal. But if it does, it can really, really help out the roster. Love this, getting him motioning across. Imagine this in the Dolphins offense. You have a tight end that's able to motion across full speed and still fit with this type of speed. He's able to fit within the timing of the offense and having a bigger body, and you can still throw the ball down the field. Look at him maintain that speed out of the motion, work vertically. I mean, this is an absolute dime from Mahomes, but he has a DB covering him, and he's able to get over the top and make a play down the field, 30 to 40 yards down the field. That's super impressive. And doing this all off the motion, just shows to me that he'd be a nice fit in this Dolphins offense. And clearly, coming from the Chiefs, very good team. In their tight end room, they have Kelsey, obviously, is the number 1. And then also had Noah Gray, who's a quality tight end number 2. And Fortson was still getting some work when he was healthy, playing 10 to 20 snaps per game. So I think, if he comes back, he looks healthy. I think it was a shoulder injury that he had in 2023 that caused him to miss time. This is a pretty intriguing high upside signing. I love the speed aspect that he can play. And also this isolated to the backside of a 3x1 look. They love to do this. It is down the red zone, to do this in random spots. He basically becomes your X receiver and was beating press looks versus corners, good corners, just beating them off the line, being more sudden than you would expect. Split, quick, sudden twitch right there off the ball, get your inside release, and you just break away, make that catch, get hit by a safety, pretty good stuff. But just the isolated to the backside for a tight end, don't feel like the Dolphins really have that before they signed Fortson, so that's definitely another intriguing aspect that I think similar thing to the last play for Fortson. But this time, not getting like the press look, getting more like that off-man look uh, versus another pretty good corner on Tampa Bay, but just isolated looks. This should not be this easy for a tight end. Like, they're definitely a little scared, but just breaks on that slant. Catches, has a big body. It's going to be hard for corners to work through that if they're playing from like that off type of look. He can beat press, catch that ball low, fight, have the awareness to get into the end zone. But still, it's just the ability to have this alignment versatility from a tight end that can basically play your X. And the Dolphins don't really have like that type of receiver on the team either. And if Fortson can do that as like basically a pseudo tight end receiver type, it's pretty impressive. And he's beating corners, so he's also beating like safeties here. He gets a safety one-on-one down in the red zone. In this tight alignment, more like basically, he's a receiver here, basically aligned almost close to the line of scrimmage, basically like a tight end that's standing up, and just gives you that twitch off the line, hard stab to the outside, breaks across on a deep crosser, works through all that, mess right there, able to track this ball and covering versus safety. The safety probably has a chance to make a play on this ball, but Fortson adjusts his angle, attacks back to it, use your, body to shield this guy off, make a play in the end zone. Really, really like to see that type of stuff. Having a red zone threat aware. There's also like plays from 2021, if you go back and check, where he like goes up and you can see his catch radius show off. He can really make some big time plays down in the end zone too, where he has to fully extend, and that's I think something that could help the Dolphins offense out. And if he doesn't end up making the team, it's no big deal. You sign him for basically nothing. But these are the types of signings that I really, really like. And just the movement skills here. Isolated on Isaiah Simmons, who's like a pseudo linebacker safety. Not going to be able to guard him. He can also go just down in the slot. Just moving really well. Love this this route here. Gives like a slight angle to the inside. Like that first step off the ball right here is just subtle to the inside. But it gets this guy to move off his spot just enough. Weave. And as soon as he weaves over and he takes that step off the ground, you break this back to the outside, you get over the top, use your hands, and you're just breaking away. Pure athleticism. You shouldn't be able to move like this at his size. Very interesting that he's able to break away very nicely. He doesn't get the target, unfortunately, but things that you like to see. Another example of him just going versus more of like a soft press. Like we've seen him versus press. This one's a little more of a soft press. Then we've seen him versus off man. Just beat isolated corners on the backside on slant routes, which I think is a big thing for that offense. Tua obviously very comfortable throwing this type of play, this route. Fortson's comfortable running in breakers, and having a bigger body throwing this type of stuff can definitely help out and give you more versatile looks, because you have players like Tyreek and Waddle who can obviously do that too. Someone like Fortson, also they would even use him as like get the ball in his hands quick, screen, get upfield. I still think he has some pretty good yak ability too. Like nothing too crazy here, but clearly he'll read off his blocks, just get downhill, drop his shoulders. I just feel like, with the other Dolphins tight end, before picking up Johnny Smith, because they'll use like Johnny Smith like this, and now having a player like Fortson to do something like this as well. Fortson can also block like this. I've seen him block out in space pretty well versus DBs here and help out his other tight ends or receivers, whatever it was. But yeah, having another guy that could potentially do this would be nice. Don't know if he's guaranteed to make that roster, but I still like to see that. And just the absolute movement skills, man. He is explosive speed, which is important for the timing of this offense. If you're going to have a guy out there that can, work within the timing, get downhill, he can even be like a clear out guy where he just runs deep vertically and clears space out for other threats on the offense. But here he's just moving well, like long strider. He's kind of gliding right here, and then boom, hits another acceleration, working into Darius Slay. Doesn't get a target here, but then get physical. Boom, get out of that break, kind of create some separation with some physicality. Balls being thrown elsewhere to Kelsey. But you can just see those types of plays just for the movement skills alone. That's why I'm showing this stuff. Like he doesn't get targeted here, but he motions across, being more of a clear out guy where he can clear out space, take people with him. But he has this, you can just see him absolutely moving for a tight end. And that stuff is just super intriguing. And there's all that space for Kelsey to work with in the middle of the field. And then here's some of the blocking reps. In line, he definitely, shows some ability to get out there, block DBs, square people up. He'll have decent technique when at times, like not always. Sometimes he'll go against like defensive ends and he'll kind of throw his body around, but at least he's giving effort, which is a good thing. Not the worst blocker I've ever seen, but I wouldn't expect too much there in that area. Same thing here, blocking Derwin James on his face, who's not super easy to block. Like as a safety, some safeties are pretty good at beating blocks. This is Derwin James, able to square him up, gets pushed back a little bit, but still able to maintain that. Kelsey kind of runs into him, but it's still nice to see him showing effort, showing some good, stock blocking, good base, squaring this guy up, good hand placement, and is able to now get his hips across, which allows Kelsey to work in the end zone. That type of stuff, really, really nice. And then more just movement skills out of Fortson, aligned versus safety, the motion him to the inside. I feel like he explodes off the ball. He just moves better than you expect, and he does a good job with like manipulating his pace. I feel like there's certain things he could probably do better as route runner, but for a tight end, he does a really good job of like gliding and then boom, accelerating out of it. And once he gets even with this DB, and I feel like he makes a nice efficient break to the inside. Doesn't create a whole ton of separation, but I feel like that's enough there for a guy of his body size to potentially win, and he's definitely comfortable running those in breakers, which is huge for the Dolphins offense. So Jody Fortson, I'm a fan of this signing. I feel like there's definitely something there to work with. Like some of these other guys, like you saw my Gallimore video, I just don't think like that's a type of thing where he's ever going to live up to his upside. Like I've seen enough, and he's kind of limited in certain areas, like with body control and balance, which I feel like if you don't have that, you're not going to be as successful you need. He can be a depth guy, but I feel like Fortson can actually bring some value to this offense, potentially, and I think there's upside there that's even untapped because he didn't get that full-on opportunity, more being like a tight end 3, and I think McDaniel can find interesting ways to use him, and it should be pretty fun. I'm not saying like he'll be like the starter, but seeing a handful of snaps in a game if he makes the team and use him in different ways, and even as like just an option to clear things out and run down the field or even isolate him as an X would be interesting. So if you guys really do, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, let's see you guys. Peace.